Welcome to Networking Unleashed, Building Profitable Connections, the show where conversations create opportunities and relationships drive real business growth. I'm your host, Michael Forman. For many professionals today, the first handshake doesn't happen in a room, it happens on LinkedIn. A connection request, a thoughtful comment, or a well written post can open the door to relationships that lead to partnerships, clients, and opportunities. My guest today helps professionals turn LinkedIn from a simple profile page into a powerful networking platform. We're talking about how to build meaningful connections online, how to communicate your value without sounding like a sales pitch, and how consistent engagement can turn digital interactions into real world relationships. If you've ever wondered how to make LinkedIn work for your business instead of just out there out there on an online resume, this episode is for you. And I'd like to welcome to the podcast today, Natasha. Natasha is an expert in doing all of this, turning your LinkedIn page and everything else. I'll let her discuss all of that. But Natasha, welcome to the podcast and just give us a little background on how you got where you are today.
Thanks so much for having me today, Michael. Excuse me. Gosh, how I got here today. I had landed my first sales position. This is about 10 years ago as an SDR where I had to cold call, smile and dial 100 dials a day. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Very familiar.
And it was so brutal. I'm an introvert, used to be super shy as well. And so you can imagine this was quite literally the worst position for me. However, I'm also very competitive. And I'm like, how do I hit my numbers but not cry every day, basically? And that's actually how I discovered using LinkedIn as a way to connect, network, and then warm call. And it turns out people are much more receptive to that. So that sort of just unlocked this whole thing for me of, wow, I don't need to do this spray and pray mass automation, all this tactics we hate so much about sales, right? There's a way that to do it that feels good and authentic and or like organic, right? And so that was really the start of it. From there, obviously, there's some twists and turns of how I started to create content as part of this. Like I didn't know I was building a personal brand. I had no idea what that was actually until I was VP of sales at Forbes Books. That was the first time intentionally in that space. But it was by that point, I actually already had a personal brand and this huge network. And it's because of building out this whole system and all with sales in mind, right? It was always about how do I hit my quota and do it in a way that feels good. And that's pretty much what brings me to today. Obviously, some twists and turns there, but it was with Forbes Books, especially totally drank the Kool-Aid. And I still think book publishing is a really great route to go, but it doesn't matter how great your book is if you don't have a community or audience you're engaging with, right? Nobody will know about it. And left that to find a better way to serve the authors that I had signed. And that's pretty much where I am today is that I work with authors, but as well as business owners and helping them build out their LinkedIn presence in a way that feels good and authentic, but that doesn't take up all the time since most people don't have that much time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And how do you feel that the people come to you and their LinkedIn pages? How what's your first discussion with them on how to change their LinkedIn page?
Most of the time, what's missing is more of them. Like right now, typically, I'm seeing it's like a corporate buttoned up version of them or some professional, perfect buttoned up version they think they need to be, right? Instead, we really want to see more of you. So typically, when I kick off with them, it's like, tell me about you. Where have you been? Where are you now? And where are you going? And then we can take that and turn that into your profile that's actually feels like you. Because I want to be able to hear your voice when I go to your profile. I want to be able to get to know you before I ever even talk to you.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Now we'll go into the questions now. That was just a personal question.
Sure.
Many professionals treat LinkedIn like a resume. Should someone actually think about it if they wanted to function as a networking platform?
I love this question. Most people, like 95% of people on LinkedIn today, still think of LinkedIn as a digital copy of their resume, right? It's a place where you go when you're searching for a new job. A way that I like to think about it now is as if it's like a block party, right? Where you're there to connect, network, meet your people, find those that you vibe with, right? And build those relationships. So instead of also, I'd say the other 4.5% of people think of LinkedIn as a networking event, which for years I thought of that as well. It's a borderless digital networking event where everyone's down to connect and network. Problem is, I've learned that a lot of people aren't very good at networking. There's always this ulterior motive, right? Or people are, it's like almost hunting grounds or something, and everyone, they're treating you as the prospects versus actual real people. So this idea of a block party, it's let's go there low pressure. Let's not go there to pitch people. Let's go there to talk to people and see how we can support one another versus asking, what can I get from you? It's what can we do together? How can I serve you? And I think when you go at it that way, it does change it to, it gives you purpose on the platform, right? Because you're actually on there to build relationships versus trying to just close deals. What ends up happening when you build relationships, though, is you're building trust and then opportunities happen by default. It's just most people approach it backwards. And that's why I think so many of us are even avoiding our inboxes because it's just full of pitch slaps, right? So that's
Right,
what we don't
right.
want to be doing on there.
Yeah,
Like,
I
actually,
always
wait, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, go.
No,
The
like a way I'd like to think about it sometimes is like back when we used to go into an office, right? When you'd grab coffee before you sat down at your desk, who are you grabbing coffee with? Those are the people you're trying to find on LinkedIn and build those relationships with, like through daily trust deposits, through micro conversations in the comments and the DMs.
it's I deal with a lot of my clients and I deal with LinkedIn because it is the business platform. And I tell them all the time, they're building social capital, right?
Mm,
Instead of money, they're building social capital. And the way to do that is if they want to connect with somebody, then they have to build a social capital with that person. And you have to bring some sort of substance to the relationship that you're
mm,
trying to create. So you're giving them articles or something. I thought of you today. I thought you might be interested in this. And you have to do that three, four, five times until you find that trust value. And once you cross that threshold, because like you and I, there's a wall between you and I, right? And there has to be a trust level that is there, but that wall has to come down
mm,
first, and
yep.
that trust level goes up. Okay, so enough of that. Before you ever send a connection request, what signals on someone's profile help you understand how to approach a conversation?
Well, you want to, because so many people don't have their profiles optimized, sometimes it's hard to figure out what is the thing to be looking at. So you can find some common ground if possible. The best way, of course, is if they're posting and you can look at their content and see if there's something relevant that you can talk on, of course. Again, 99% of people aren't posting though, right? So what is it on there? It's oftentimes it is trying to find where there's some level of connection, but if it's not on their profile, it's off of that. So oftentimes what I'll do is set up Google alerts relevant to their industry or the company itself or people within the company. So I get notified when there's a reason for me to reach out to these people. It's a really great way of having warm context to reach out to them versus just some random. I actually really try not to connect with anybody for no reason. There's always a purpose to connect with them. And that's what helps create it if you don't see something on their profile or in their content.
Google Alerts kind of flies below the radar. Nobody really utilizes the Google Alerts. I use
Yeah,
them all the time.
that's
And I
awesome.
get, yeah, yeah. And it's really so great because when you reach out and you make that connection, or I use it for after the connection, and I
Mhm.
say, hey, look, this is happening. I thought you might be interested.
Exactly.
Something like that. And they're like, wow,
How do you follow this?
you
I
know,
know. And it comes straight to your inbox. For those that don't know, it's google.com/alerts. And
right.
it's almost so analog now that people would think that this isn't a valuable resource. It's so powerful and it's free.
And it's right there. And it comes right to your
It goes
email. And it's,
exactly.
oh my God, this is great. Okay.
Yeah.
What makes someone accept a connection request and what instantly makes them ignore it?
That's a really great question because I probably have 200 connection requests in my LinkedIn right now. And it's because I actually, whenever I go, I do take the time to look at, I would say 90% of people to see why is there a reason I want to like why I should connect with them, right? Most people don't necessarily send a personal note, so I'll go look and see if there's a reason and then I'll ask why did they connect with me, right? I'm always trying to start conversations. The 10% that I just immediately decline, is if they have some sort of get 20 meetings in 1 week, these fluffy numbers that they're full of crap.
Right.
And you're just trying to, you're going to pitch me right away. There's no doubt about that. So it's like any lasting numbers like that. Out of country areas, sometimes I won't, just because I know that's not where I'm targeting. And typically they might be trying to sell me something too. So those ones go out of it. But when it is somebody I do connect with, and I accept it and I say, hey, thanks for the connection. I'll ask why they connected with me. It's because I think that there's some opportunity of an exchange of value, whether I think I could use their services, they could use my services, or we serve the same people. And quite frankly, this is the most technical version of all this, is that there's a vibe. Like they've just got some cool vibe to them. I'm like, yes, hell yes, let's connect. You know what I mean?
Well, that's you hit upon it. That's very important
Yeah.
because I teach networking, communication, leadership, that whole thing, and I go on stages or I do workshops, and one thing that's missed by many is you pick up the vibe of the
Mhm.
room. You pick up the vibe of the person that you're speaking to. These are our vibes that you have to pick up, and you really can't do it through Zoom
Yeah.
because everybody can put on that facade. Everybody can put on that fake face and everything else. But once you walk into the room, once you do that one to one, you immediately pick up that vibe, good or bad.
Yeah.
I've been in plenty of rooms where I picked up a bad vibe and
Yeah.
not I had to get away from there quickly. But that to me was is the most important. Okay. Where do professionals unintentionally damage relationships by treating LinkedIn like a sales funnel instead of a conversation platform?
Oftentimes it's when they outsource it, honestly. They know they need to be on LinkedIn, and so they decide to use one of these platforms that automate their messaging. And it worked at one point a few years back, but now because of the trust recession that we're in and nobody believes anything anymore, and AI has confused, like, people have been burned left and right. Like it's a tough place to get attention on LinkedIn if you just automate it and think it's going to actually work. And quite frankly, that actually does the reverse and it hurts your brand. I've worked with many people who have done those services, spent a lot of money on it and got nothing from it. And then in fact, they're like, I couldn't believe that's what I was sending out to people. And so I think there's no shortcut to building relationships, although I will say your personal brand comes really close to it. But I think so many people we've spent the last years, decades trying to shortcut that process and making it easier for the salesperson, forgetting about how it feels for the buyer's experience, right? And so if you take things back to how we do things, of how things used to be done through relationships, through actually connecting with the other person, you'll see that you're going to have way more impact, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I really make the pandemic a line in the sand because pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
things were more transactional. I have a widget, you have $3, we'll exchange it, I'll build my customer list, and the world's a beautiful place. But afterwards, post, people, when they were shut in and everything, you have to almost start fresh and it becomes more relational. And that trust factor is so much more important. And I think that's where the authenticity, that's a buzzword now, but you
I
know,
know.
it's unfortunate, but it's a buzzword. Yeah, and you have to just make it through all that cloud of mistrust to get to the trust.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I totally
that's it.
agree. It's funny you say that because I don't use the word authentic anymore because it's lost its meaning basically because it turns out, so I say just be real. That's what
Yeah.
we're going for because when people say be authentic, you can't just be authentic. You either are or you aren't.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it did become a buzzword. It's when somebody says, "Oh, you are using AI." That's such a generic
Question.
term.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
it's I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't trust you. That's
Yeah.
okay. So, how can someone communicate their value on LinkedIn in a way that attracts interest without sounding like they're pitching?
That's a good question. I would say very simply, I'm probably oversimplifying this. Just look at your calendar. What is it you did yesterday with your client, with your prospect? What problems did you solve? What questions arise? And then talk about that. Because obviously, if it's happening with your clients and conversations with prospects or colleagues, that means other people probably want to hear about it as well. That's going to be the best way for you to show you do what you say you do is by talking about the things you actually do.
Right. Okay. So, What type of content strengthens professional relationships rather than just increasing visibility?
I guess expanding on what I just said, right? It's showcasing you do what you say you do through real lived experience because that's what people crave so much right now, right? AI has
Right.
killed the how-to post, right? Anybody can do that. So instead of writing a how-to framework, it's right how I did a thing or how my client did a thing. That's what you want to be talking about is like actual proprietary point of view perspective that's yours that AI cannot come up with, right? And I think that's like we have so much AI slop on there right now of just crap content that anybody could write. And question actually I always ask myself before I post anything now is could AI have written this? Because if so, that means my competitor could have. It also means my 7-year-old nephew could have, right? And so what you want to be doing is how can you bring you to your content?
One thing that AI can't do, and that's invoke emotion. So once you write about the feeling that the reader would have, because when I teach my clients, when they give their dopey 30-second elevator pitch and everything else, I tell them, okay, listen, don't tell me what your elevator pitch is. Tell me what the feeling of the end result is. Tell me what the feeling of the person on the other end of it, like they have a problem. What are they getting out of it? Because as you said, AI can write it all, right? But AI cannot put the emotion into it. And
Yeah.
that's really the difference. Okay. How can LinkedIn conversations naturally move from online interaction to real world relationships and opportunities?
That's how I approach LinkedIn in general. My whole thing is I'm on LinkedIn to get off LinkedIn and build relationships. Like I'd rather not be on there. I don't use social media in my personal life, right? This is not necessarily, I've never intended to build a business around a social media platform. That's like mind blowing to me. But it's an opportunity to build relationships, right? To connect with people, find deepen those relationships and get off the platform and into real conversations. And so when you approach it that way, and when you're connecting with people who align with what you're trying to do or who you're trying to serve, right? Then opportunities almost just happen more organically that way because again, this whole system of having the right profile, optimized profile, and having the right type of content that's showcasing your expertise and your value and building trust, and then having those right type of conversations it almost doesn't feel like you're even doing sales because it's already done for you because there's that trust established and then people are already just raising their hand for you. By no means am I saying all of a sudden you're going to get loaded of inbounds. No, that's not the reality whatsoever. Most people will never reach out actually, but you'll be creating more of those signals of intent all throughout your activity and your notifications, that sort of thing on LinkedIn that you can say hi to those people who are already quietly waving their hand hello. They're just too scared to reach out to you. That's the way I like to think about it. So I don't do any cold outreach, right? It's all finding those signals of intent and taking action with those signals because some people pay attention to them, but then don't do anything about it. When I say signals, I'm thinking like profile views, likes, followers that aren't connections, that type of stuff. So
Yeah, but those people aren't trained to look at and see it. And that's where really you come in. You can train them so they can actually notice it, they can reach out to them, and that might invoke that other person to start a conversation, to start a relationship or something. And that's what you're all about.
yeah, actually, it's funny really quickly. I have a client of mine. I was telling her what to say in the DMs after somebody views her profile, and there's no way anyone's responding to this. Took weeks for her to finally actually send the DM. And she sent her first one, and the person responded back with 4 paragraphs of why she reached out to her. And she couldn't believe it. I'm like, because most people have a lot to say. They're just too scared to say it or don't know how to because it's so awkward. We're all new to this, right? Building relationships on LinkedIn online. It's a new way of doing business in this context, right? And so imagine if you are creating content, how hard it is for you to get into the DMs. Imagine for somebody who isn't creating content at all, like they're going to be petrified, right? So you have to
Absolutely.
you're doing them a favor by initiating the conversation.
Absolutely. You are, and your job is to make it easier for them.
Mhm.
And if it's easy for them to reach out and discuss something with you, then you've done it, right?
Mhm.
So you're making it so easy for them that they will just do it. And really, that's the goal, is to make it that easy for
Yeah.
them to reach out to you. What follow-up habits help someone to stay memorable in someone's network without becoming intrusive?
That's where it's a mix of making sure that you're consistently creating content that's valuable, right? Because that's a
Right.
way to show up in the feed, right? Without bothering them in the follow-up and the DMs so much. And then supporting them as well. So if they're creating content, engaging with their stuff as well, and trying to, again, be more than just a transaction and just trying to sell them something, like show support. That's a huge way of doing this. Honestly, like I know, of course, my whole focus is on LinkedIn, but bringing a newsletter to my business was the most valuable thing I ever did. And that's the way I'm nurturing those relationships in their inbox because most people aren't hanging out on LinkedIn like I am, or most social platforms also. So if you can find a way to get them off of that into your email list and then share valuable content there as well, that's a really wonderful way of doing it too. Obviously, yes, what we talked about with the Google Alerts, like if you find something that's interesting to them, something of value, genuine value that you can share with them, obviously you can follow up that way as a nice subtle reminder versus, hey, just bumping this to the top, right? Like you can, there's a little bit more depth to it when you're actually giving them something that really could be of value to them.
Very good. Very good. What mistakes do business owners make when trying to generate leads on LinkedIn?
Again, I think going back to this idea where they think of it as like hunting grounds or a networking event where you're just there to do business only and treating it that way, where the last thing you want to do the last way you want to make somebody feel is as if they are a prospect. That sucks. And so
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
right. But I think a lot of people just have these generic messages they're sending out. Like even when I get example of somebody, they have a workshop coming up and they just send me their link to the workshop. I'm like, I don't even know you. Why are you sending me this? It's thinking that people want to get that right away. So like my whole focus is permission-based selling, where I have people opting into it. I ask if they want to receive it. And then when they say yes, like I then have a very highly converting newsletter because I've asked, do you want to join my newsletter? And so I think because again, we spent so many years trying to shortcut this whole process, automating it and making it easier for the seller, supposedly, it's burnt people out, right? We're just tired of seeing that same pitchy email or DM. And instead, it's just be human. That's the thing I think people forget most about is that there is a human on the other side of the screen, right? And so
Absolutely.
like a
Absolutely.
filter, yeah. So like a question I'm always asking, if you saw this person at the gym or at the coffee shop, would you say it to them? If not, don't say it.
Absolutely. That is one of the things that I tell everybody is that we might be talking through Zoom, but there's a person behind the camera. There's a person, and you have to treat them the same way. But you don't feel because I don't care if they're dressed from the waist down in shorts and sneakers, you still have to treat them the same way. So that goes a long way. All right. So let's bring this podcast full circle. If a listener wanted LinkedIn to become a consistent source of relationships and opportunities within the next 90 days, what one habit should they start doing immediately?
That's a really good question. One habit, I hope this doesn't sound cliche, but it's bring more of you to your presence on there, whether that's your profile, your content, but really making sure that your essence, that vibe we were talking about, because we can't read the room because we're not in person, how can you bring the room there? What can you be doing to showcase what your vibe is, who you are, so that when people do get on a call with you, they already feel like they know you. I think that's what we really need to figure out, like the digital version of the quirky things you do in real life. What is that on LinkedIn and bring that to your presence there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if anybody listening wants to learn how to do that, talk to Natasha. Okay. So now this was a great conversation. I love learning about LinkedIn because I use it almost all the time for business. I have a bunch of followers and everything else. But if somebody wanted to reach out to you, wanted to talk to you, say hello to you, or hire you, how would they do it?
You might guess you can find me on LinkedIn. That's
Yeah.
probably the best way to connect with me, honestly. Obviously, you can check out my website. It's nearpointstrategies.com as well, but LinkedIn is going to be your best bet for sure.
Okay. Here. This conversation reminds us that networking doesn't stop when we leave the room. Platforms like LinkedIn allow us to stay connected, continue conversations, and build relationships long after the first introduction. Take one simple step this week. Reach out to someone in your network with a genuine message. Comment on their work, share something helpful, or simply reconnect. Those small interactions can often lead to the biggest opportunities. If you found value in today's episode, please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to Networking Unleashed, building profitable connections so you keep getting the best insights on networking and communication. And share this episode with someone who wants to turn their online presence into a real professional relationship. If you'd like to help strengthen how you communicate and build connections that lead to opportunity, visit michaelaforman.com. Learn how I work with professionals, teams, and organizations. So until next time, stay visible, stay genuine, and keep building connections that move your business forward. Natasha, thank you for coming on my podcast. You are a wonderful guest.
No, thank you so much, Michael. This was so much fun.
Well, hold on, folks. Don't go anywhere. Let's hear from our sponsors. David Neal, co-founder, Revved Up Kids. Revved Up Kids is on a mission to protect children and teens from sexual abuse, exploitation, and trafficking. They provide prevention training programs for children, teens, and adults. To learn more, go to revvedupkids.org. Henry Kaplan, Century 21. When it comes to making the biggest financial decision of your life, leave it in the hands of a proven professional, Henry Kaplan. Henry is a global real estate agent with Century 21, celebrating his 41st year in business. No matter where you're moving, Henry has the right connections for you. You can contact Henry at 561 427 4888. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing such incredible insights today. And of course, a big shout out to you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you're interested in my digital courses, being coached, or having me come and talk to your company, just go to Michael and fill out the request form. Remember, networking isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. So take what you've learned today, get out there, and make some meaningful connections. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little networking inspiration. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, or my website, forman.com/podcasts.